Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with a review that is very special to me. Dalton, what is it? Tell them.
It's very special to you because it's Emily Dickinson.
Tell them and sound happy about it.
There's a certain slant of light. Emily Dickinson. Now, you always do this to me.
I know.
You always do this. How many times have we read, Billy Collins poems for the channel?
We haven't read Billy Collins' poems for the channel.
Exactly. How many Dickinsons have we done?
3 now.
That's 3 too many.
Shut up.
3 too many. All right.
Give it a read through, son of a bitch.
There's a certain slant of light, winter afternoons, that oppresses... There's a certain slant of light. I hate you so much. There's a certain slant of light, winter afternoons, that oppresses like the heft of cathedral tunes. Heavenly hurt it gives us, we can find no scar, but internal differences where the meanings are. None may teach it, any 'tis the steel of despair, an imperial affliction sent us of the air. When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath. When it goes, 'tis the distance, on the look of death.
There's a certain slant of light, winter afternoons, that oppresses like the heft of cathedral tunes. Heavenly hurt it gives us, we can find no scar, but internal difference where the meanings are. None may teach it, any 'tis the seal despair, an imperial affliction sent us of the air. When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath. When it goes, 'tis like the distance, on the look of death.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Good and bad?
Go ahead.
You know, you do Billy Wigglestick's unsonnets.
Yeah?
I might have to start, doing Dickie Emmonson's. Dickie Emmonson's ruining Emily Dickinson.
Just like you to pick an unoriginal idea.
I try. That's what I do. I am the leech of this channel. Good things and bad things.
He's the tech guy.
The tech guy. Good things and bad things. 3 good.
Yes.
This is different from typical dark and dreary Emily Dickinson.
Okay. Say them and mean them.
That's a good thing. It is different.
Okay.
This is a great example of internal conflict. So we'll get into that one a little bit. And there's a lot going on here. This is sometimes we say it's cut and dry. Sometimes we say there are tons of layers. There's plenty of layers here. The more you dig, the more you find. Adrian?
I'm glad you felt that way.
I hate you so much.
If you take out a few dashes and that last couplet, there's no real stereotypical Dickinson here.
Yes.
Right? There are no reaches in the references.
It's different from dark and dreary Dickinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. We agree. About Emily Dickinson.
2, there is an uncertain rhythm here, which is haunting.
Okay.
You talk about the Gilligan's Island tune, how Emily Dickinson's poem can be read to the Gilligan Island too. Go ahead and try.
With this?
You can do it.
Which poem is it that does that? Do you remember?
Because I could not stop
for death, he kindly stop for me.
Okay, so 3, the emotion here informs the tone. That turn between heavenly hurt it gives us and we can find no scar is elusive and heavy in the same way as this certain slant of light.
Okay.
3 bad things.
Oh, bad things about Emily Dickinson.
There aren't very many.
Dickinson can lose you in this one. It is different. There's a lot going on. You can get lost in here if you don't carefully read it. On the surface, Emily Dickinson's just complaining because the sun is bad. Tell me I'm wrong.
Keep going.
And number 3, despite hiding it well, this is still fucking Emily Dickinson. Every time. Because she has 13,000 poems about the same thing.
She has 1,775 poems.
Okay, same thing. Your move.
That last couplet is like J.K. Rowling coming back to Harry Potter. You were so close to doing something different, but comfort won out.
Yes.
Right? The 3rd stanza is how you write when you know something, but you don't know how to say it. That 3rd stanza... None may teach it, any, 'tis the seal despair, an imperial affliction sent us of the air. This reminds me of those papers you had to write in middle school English, where you had to describe how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, or how to brush your teeth or whatever. You know what I'm saying? when you're 13 years old and you're trying to say, how do I say rub the jelly on the bread, but sound intelligent, right? 3, like a good deal of Dickinson's poetry, you feel the first stanza like a spinning backhand. After that, the meat of the poem is a winded sort of ambling struggle. And the fight ends with a rear naked choke that you saw coming a mile away.
Okay.
But the fight still ends, right? So best line.
When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath.
Okay. That oppresses like the heft of cathedral tunes.
Okay. Both, I think, delightful imagery in both of them, and I can give them that.
But on that, they are both images of things that do not exist, that do not tangibly exist, which I think is the heart of this poem. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I agree with you, actually, on that. What is this poem about? Let's get into that before we start talking about best lines.
I want to know your incorrect opinion before I go ahead and tell you the truth.
Okay. Obviously, there's your tune of oppression. This is about internal conflict. Whatever you want to say, what kind of conflict, but this is definitely internal conflict. If you look at Emily Dickinson publishing at this time, but she was not publishing. Why? Because she was a hermit. She was crazy. Why is the other reason? She was a woman. Women don't write at this point in time and don't get published. Is this Dickinson saying that she has the internal conflict of having all these words to get out, but when it actually comes to the light of day, there's nothing she can do? It's just nothing but oppression.
Yeah, I think you're largely correct there.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. This is not a poem of loss. It sounds like a poem of loss, right? There's a certain slant of light that is oppressive, right? It sounds like a poem of loss. This is a poem of never having.
Okay.
A certain slant of light in the winter is only light. It is not warmth.
Correct.
It is just the light. It is the idea of warmth that you still are denied, right? It is this promise of publication because you're good enough, but you can only dream about it.
It's being stuck on the raft in the ocean, plenty of water, but you ain't drinking it.
In the same way that these cathedral tunes give us the idea of heaven with no actual heaven and no visible scar.
Okay.
Right?
I like it.
Okay.
We're actually on the same page for once about Dickinson. This is terrifying.
Now I want to look at that line that John Gardner plucked out.
Okay.
An imperial affliction.
John Green?
Or John Green.
Okay, John Green. An imperial affliction.
Put on your feminist criticism hat. What is that?
Oppressive, imperialist, early English, I'm assuming.
This slant of light, so like cathedral tunes, is an imperial affliction. That is, it is something dastardly, which is forced upon us by a higher power, right?
Okay.
God is a higher power. The sun is a higher power. Nature is a higher power. In the reading of this, men were the higher power.
I want you to know you completely lost me for about 30 seconds. I'm sorry. But you said put on your feminist hat, and I just realized I'm making a feminist hats for these videos, and I will put it on. Anyway, carry on, please.
So, does this or does this not both equate religion with nature and men, right?
Okay.
Right? We give this that reading. So, for lack of a better term, do both nature and religion and men not rape? An imperial affliction.
Okay.
This higher power forcing upon, right?
Yes.
Now, here's the main turn for me in this poem. Look at that line. An imperial affliction. Look at that line. What stands out to you there, Dalton?
An imperial affliction?
Yes. Amidst all of his powerlessness, there is a statement of will there. Do you see it? I want you to think about all of the tropes of Dickinson. Everything about Dickinson that you know. Everything about Dickinson that everyone harps upon. There is something extremely profound lacking in that line. Look at it. An imperial affliction. Do you see it?
Do I see something that's not there?
Yes.
Yes, there's no hyphen, there's nothing.
Okay, look at slant.
Okay.
Look at afternoons. Look at heft.
Lack of capitalization
Look at
for
her,
imperial?
meanings, any, landscape, distance, death. The only words in this poem whose very definition imply power and force have their heft, if you will, stripped from them by the speaker.
Okay.
So, this is Emily Dickinson claiming the authority of this poem.
Okay.
The only words here that imply power and force are emasculated in the greater theme of the poem by having their capitalizations withheld.
Very
Other
interesting.
words with power, with heft, which is capitalized,
Yes.
are capitalized.
So with this internal conflict that she's dealing with, this is Emily Dickinson saying, hey, you know, I don't care about what you're doing to me as a society. I'm going to get one over. This is me. This is mine.
Yes.
All right. Look at that.
So that is where it is in that third stanza that the ownership, that the individuality is claimed. What happens after? When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath. When it goes, 'tis like the distance on the look of death.
That's Emily going back to Emily.
Yeah. But shadows listen.
Okay.
These vague ideas of things that don't actually exist are given real characteristics.
Okay.
This woman who writes poetry is something that does not actually exist, but she is given real characteristics. She's given hefty things to landscape capitalized, shadows capitalized, distance capitalized, death obviously capitalized.
But not an imperial affliction.
But not an imperial affliction, not the real power, not the appreciable real world power.
So is this the strength of Emily Dickinson taking the power away from the audience and saying, well, not the audience, but, you know, the society at the time?
It is Emily Dickinson stripping the power from whoever may be reading this poem and saying, you can't write.
Yes.
It is Emily Dickinson taking the power from whoever is reading this poem and saying, this isn't good.
But doing so subtly that you wouldn't notice.
Right. In the
What a pretty poem.
In the opposite way of Shakespeare, saying, I'm going to write this and it's going to live forever.
Yes.
It's Emily Dickinson saying, I'm going to write this and it's never really going to exist. But since it never really exists, like that certain slant of light, you cannot extinguish it.
Fair enough. The fire that burns within.
Yes, the fire that burns within. It is a fire that does not have any appreciable flame.
Okay.
Does not have a tangible flame, I guess I should say.
I love how manic you get over Emily Dickinson. You just go. It's delightful.
This is my bread and butter.
Yes.
Emily Dickinson is where I learned what things, how there can be multiple levels to things.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what else to say. It's just like
What have you got?
Okay, let me go back to this. We talked about internal conflict a little bit. Can we talk about the imagery here? I think and you talked about the imagery as well with the shadow, with the landscapes of things that don't exist,
Okay.
but are given visual image.
Yes.
And we both agreed that cathedral tunes and landscape listening, shadows hold their breath. Those are our two favorite lines, but they are non-existent.
Yes.
That is absolutely incredible because when you say those, you get an imagery, a visual image of cathedral tunes. You get a visual image of shadows holding their breath, but it's non-existent, it's non-tangible, as you said. That was my exciting thing because I always go towards imagery and I'm like, oh, visualization, beauty in this.
Well, if we're going with visualization, let's look at We Can Find No Scar.
Okay.
What is implied there?
We can find no scar. The damage it does is internal.
Right.
This is oppression.
Right. But I think it's an overt reference, again, to rape.
You think so?
You find the scar of rape.
All right.
There's you used to test to see if your wife was a virgin before, right? Mm-hmm. If she's not a virgin, the hymen's broken, right? That scar is there. But even that scar is the lack of something, right? It is the lack of a hymen.
Correct.
So this, we can find no scar, is something that we cannot see. Like the heft of cathedral tunes, like the shadows which hold their breath.
So what you're saying here is instead of putting, you know, all these feminist leaders on the $10 bill, we need to put Emily Dickinson.
I'm saying Emily Dickinson needs to be on the 1, the 5, the 10, and the 12. I'm saying the quarters would look a lot better with a picture of Emily Dickinson on them.
Now, if you pick this up,
on both sides,
never having read this poem before,
yes,
but you've been familiar with Wild Wild Nights. You've been familiar with Because I Could Not Stop for Death. I Heard a Fly Buzz. The canon of Emily Dickinson. Would you recognize this as Emily Dickinson?
And then I think you would.
I think at a close eye and a close read with the hyphens, the lack of punctuation,
and with that final couplet.
You might.
When it goes to like the distance on the look of death.
But this is very refreshing from Emily Dickinson, which makes this okay.
But it speaks about all the things that Emily Dickinson normally speaks about. So where is it that the difference lies?
The difference lies in that this is not dark, this is not dreary, this is not me talking to
This is not
death.
dark.
Whoa, 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 whoa. On the surface level. This appears to be bright. You have surface slant, you have light as your visual image.
You have a slant of light.
You have a slant of light, but it's still light. It's not dark and dreary Dickinson.
Right, but here's the thing. Like Derrida said, when you speak about one thing, you're really referencing everything else, right?
I'm like
Everything
trying
that
to
you don't
compliment
mention-
Dickinson, and you just keep slaughtering me.
You're trying to compliment her in the wrong fashion.
No, I'm trying to compliment
You're
her by
complimenting her
saying,
with your ignorance. Go
by
ahead.
saying the poet is able to get across her message and keep her voice by disguising it, which would have been necessary for the oppressed woman writing the poem at this time.
Oh yeah, this doesn't read classically effeminate or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, when you talk about a certain slant of light, what are you really talking about? It's like if I were to say, there was one red ant.
Yes.
That says that there were thousands of black ants,
Yes.
right? So when you say there's a certain slant of light, what you're really referencing is all the darkness around it. Is all the coldness around
Yes, but it's disguised so well.
it. If you're
When you read it, you don't focus immediately on like, oh, she's surrounded by darkness, there's that single slant of light. Yeah, that's still the visual image you get, but you're focused on the light, not the darkness.
maybe if you're a really unskilled reader.
Oh, boo. Boo, sir. I'm trying to give you one Emily Dickinson compliment and you shatter it. This is the last time we're reading her.
Okay, Dalton, so what if you came in and I was like, wow, your fro looks incredibly nice today. Is that a real compliment?
Yes, actually. I mean, have you not met
Okay,
me?
get back to it. What else have you got?
What else do we want to talk about here? We've talked about internal conflict. We've talked about imagery. Internal difference. Any thoughts on internal difference? Where's my line here? I've lost it. But internal difference where the meanings are. Is this the opposite of oppression? This is, I will rise, for lack of better term. Internal difference, it doesn't matter what you do to me. It doesn't matter how you break me down. It doesn't matter how you oppress me. You keep me hidden. Internal difference, this is me. This is my power. This is my call to arms. Emily Dickinson style.
I think you are on the right path, but you're looking at the wrong side of the road.
Okay.
Internal difference where the meanings are. This is not saying I will rise. This was saying that your need to rise does not matter. It's saying that being put in these books, I don't give a fuck about that. Being put in your little publication doesn't mean shit to me, because I still get to write.
Yes.
I still get to make my poetry.
And we just figured out why Adrian loves Emily Dickinson.
What?
That reason there.
Oh, because she doesn't give a fuck about authority?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's a gorgeous thing about Emily Dickinson. She doesn't. There are times when reading Emily Dickinson where it feels like she's insulting God.
Yes.
Who was Emily Dickinson? There's a lot of conjecture both ways on this. Emily Dickinson was almost assuredly a Christian, right?
Yes.
Despite the fact that you had to pretend to be a Christian even if you weren't.
Correct.
So imagine accepting the idea of God, the all-powerful being, and still saying, hey God, shove off for a while, huh? Right? Like, what is the old saying that courage is not the lack of fear, it's the will to act in the face of fear, right? The ability to act in the face of fear.
Okay.
It does not take courage for me, an atheist, to say, I don't give a damn about your God.
Yeah.
Right? It takes courage for someone who believes in God to say,
This is
God,
true.
you're wrong.
This is very true.
You made a mistake here.
Now, I always harp on Dickinson. Do you have any other big major points you want to get off your chest here?
No, but an imperial affliction was my main goal in this discussion.
Here's what kills me. I always harp on Dickinson. I don't enjoy Dickinson. I make it a point not to enjoy Dickinson. I read Dickinson with the idea of hate this because it'll piss Adrian off.
Right.
What would you rate this?
What would I rate this?
Yes.
Okay, I would rate this 93 slants of light out of 100.
I gave it 88 because it's good. It is good. There's a lot going on here.
Okay, so we've read 3 Dickinson poems, I believe, for the channel.
And I believe I've given them all pretty damn good ratings.
Which you've had to talk yourself out of.
Yes.
Right?
Every time.
So what does that tell you maybe about Dickinson?
Dickinson is good. She's good at what she does. She writes well. She does a lot in the poem, in such a short poem, but I still don't like her.
You enjoy this poem.
You think so?
Listening to you talk about this poem, you enjoyed the analysis of this poem. Here's the thing, which I think is important to recognize with Emily Dickinson. You enjoy this poem on an intellectual level.
Okay.
Don't you?
I think yes.
When you set your wheels in motion on this poem,
oh yes,
do you
there's
find
a lot
it enjoyable?
to find. Yes.
Do you like this on an aesthetic level?
No.
See? So what is it that this is appealing to you? That is appealing about this to you? Not on your baser levels, not on your, oh my God, I love John Green novels level. This is appealing to the adult in you.
Okay.
This is appealing to the intellectual in you. So this is appealing to the literati in you.
What you're saying,
this is appealing to all the things you hope to evolve into in your life.
So what you're
not
saying,
what you came from.
3 or 4 years down the road, I'm gonna have to backtrack and delete our older videos because be like, God, they're gonna know.
Yeah.
They're gonna know
that Adrian was onto this about me before I was.
But every young man must fall in love with Emily Dickinson or something along that bullshit line.
Every young man is in love with Emily Dickinson.
No.
On an intellectual level, at least.
I don't think so.
Tell me this isn't gorgeous. Tell me it's not gorgeous.
Oh, I thought you were going to try to read it at me again or something. Anyway, what would you suggest to go alongside Miss Dickinson?
You give yours first.
I actually chose a contemporary poem.
Really?
Pushing on the idea of internal conflict, of oppression, femininity. Men by Lydia Davis.
Okay. Why?
Because it's the exact same thing. It's the comment on oppression, but it's more modern. It's the comment on dealing in a society run by men. It's a very feminist poem, but it's also not. I don't know how to describe it. I wish we could read it. It's actually in the 2008 Greatest American Poems or Best American New Poets of 2008 or something like that. Was reading through it and wanted to place this one alongside this one.
Okay.
So.
I would suggest, if you like Emily Dickinson, read more Emily Dickinson.
We don't say that around here, though.
I Measure Every Grief I Meet by Emily Dickinson.
Okay.
Because I think that these are light and shadow of the same idea. I measure every grief I meet with narrow probing eyes. I wonder if it weighs like mine or has an easier size. I wonder if they bore it long, or did it just begin? I could not tell the date of mine, it feels so old a pain. I wonder if it hurts to live, and if they have to try, and whether could they choose between, it would not be to die. And this is a longer poem by Dickinson. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just looking at the others, these great triumphs of literature.
Emily Dickinson is literature.
So, we'll discuss that at a later channel, but probably, or a later time, but not Dickinson, because we're done with her forever, correct?
We are not done with Dickinson.
We will never have to bring her back from the dead once more, correct?
Emily Dickinson has never died. Emily Dickinson will live forever through the poetry she wrote.
So if you would like to find out if we're going to continue dealing with Emily Dickinson, please, hopefully not, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like as well if you'd like to pander to Adrian's feelings and make him feel important.
If you would like to see pictures of me strangling Dalton, you can find them on Instagram at StripCoverLit. You can also find us on Twitter at StripCover and on Facebook at StripCoverLit.